Let me tell you a story that's not about women or men. It's about time. It's about decisions. It's about what happens when you treat your future like it's guaranteed and your standards like they don't come with a cost. I'm going to call her Emily, not because her name matters, but because you've met a version of her. And if you're honest, you've met a version of him too. Because this isn't a female problem. This is a human problem. Emily was smart, driven, educated. She worked hard, built a career, collected achievements the way some people collect trophies. She was respected in her field, independent, self sufficient. She didn't need anyone's approval, and she made sure everyone knew it. When it came to dating, Emily had standards, real standards. At least that's what she believed. But they weren't standards rooted in values or character. They were standards rooted in control, in ego, in the comfort of never having to risk choosing the wrong person. She didn't reject men because they were cruel or dangerous. She rejected dozens of decent men because they didn't match a carefully constructed fantasy. Too boring, not ambitious enough, didn't earn enough, wanted kids too early, didn't excite her instantly, didn't feel right. So she kept moving forward, convinced that better options would always appear. And here's the lie that ruins more lives than almost anything else: I have time. Later became her favorite word. Later, after the promotion. Later, after she traveled. Later, after she felt ready. Later, after she found someone perfect. Later feels responsible. It feels mature. It feels like planning. But most of the time, later is just fear with good branding. At 42, Emily didn't hit a beauty wall or an internet myth. She hit reality. Her friends weren't just dating anymore. They were building lives. They had families, routines, traditions, meaning. Their weekends weren't empty. Their holidays weren't lonely. Their lives had structure beyond work. Emily had money, a career, a comfortable apartment, status. What she didn't have was connection. At 42, she sat across from me and cried, not because she felt worthless, but because she realized something she had spent years avoiding. She had protected her independence so aggressively that she ended up alone. She pulled out a journal she'd kept over the years. Inside was a list: men she had rejected, not abusers, not disasters, just men who weren't enough in the moment. I said no to 50 men, she said. And here's where many people get it wrong. This isn't about settling. Nobody should settle for disrespect, instability, or chaos. But there are two kinds of standards: value-based standards, character, kindness, reliability, shared goals; ego-based standards, status, excitement, perfection, validation. One builds a future. The other protects pride. Emily believed she was filtering for the best. In reality, she was filtering out risk. Because choosing a good man means committing to real life, not a fantasy. It means accepting imperfection. It means stopping the endless search. After that first session, Emily tried to adjust. She dated more intentionally. She joined apps. She said yes to men she once would have dismissed. But changing behavior without changing identity never lasts. At 43, she dated a divorced man with 2 kids. He was stable, kind, emotionally available. Not flashy, not dramatic, no chaos. They lasted 6 months. She couldn't do it. Not because he was wrong, but because she couldn't respect the life she had trained herself to want. She had spent decades associating excitement with worth. When calm showed up, it felt like failure. She ended it and told herself, well, someone better will come along. That sentence has destroyed more people than any breakup. At 45, she committed to therapy twice a week for 2 years. She learned the language, attachment styles, inner wounds, emotional patterns. But insight without action changes nothing. She could explain her fears perfectly. She just couldn't move through them. By 47, she stopped dating seriously. She told herself she was choosing peace. She said she was fulfilled. She said she didn't need anyone. But real peace doesn't need defending. Contentment doesn't need slogans. Happiness doesn't need social media reinforcement. By 49, her online presence turned sharp, bitter, defensive. Posts about useless men, about relationships like being traps, about independence being superior, about anyone wanting marriage being conditioned. That's not empowerment, that's armor. At 50, her social circle collapsed. Married friends stopped calling, not out of cruelty, but exhaustion. Every interaction became heavy. Every gathering turned into resentment. People eventually stopped inviting bitterness into their lives. Her closest companions became two other single women her age. They met, drank wine, and validated each other's narratives. Not friendships, coping arrangements. Men do this too, by the way. Different settings, same pattern. At 52, Emily wasn't just alone. She had become someone who couldn't connect without conflict. She blamed men for their preferences. She blamed society for misleading her. She blamed culture, feminism, her parents. She blamed the men she rejected for moving on. Everyone except herself. That's what bitterness does. It removes accountability because accountability is power, and power means responsibility. Sometimes her defenses cracked. The anger faded, and underneath it was regret. She talked about one man she rejected in her 20s, a steady engineer. She looked him up once. He had a wife, kids in college, family vacations, a life built over decades. That could have been my life, she said. Not because he was perfect, but because she finally understood the difference between fantasy and meaning. Meaning is built, fantasy is chased. And here's the lesson for every man watching this. Men make the same mistakes, just in different forms. Men delay commitment while chasing status. Men reject good women while chasing novelty. Men say they'll settle down later, then wake up alone. Men blame dating culture instead of their choices. Time doesn't negotiate. For women, fertility is real. For men, aging, health, and emotional rigidity are real. For everyone, loneliness compounds. This story isn't about gender. It's about denial. If you want a family, build toward it intentionally. If you want partnership, choose character over thrill. If you want meaning, stop waiting for perfect. Standards should protect your future, not your ego. Bitterness isn't inevitable, it's chosen daily. Emily's tragedy wasn't that she didn't win, it's that she never trained for the life she wanted. And that's the warning. The future doesn't arrive loudly, it arrives quietly and says, "This is your life now." And the life you get is rarely the one you imagined. It's the one you prepared for. Prepare wisely.